Fatal Attraction, The Big Chill, 101 Dalmatians. Glenn Close has played a number of iconic roles, and she's adding another to her list. This latest film is called The Wife, and in it, Glenn plays Joan, a devoted partner who starts to question her life and true role as a wife after her husband is awarded a Nobel Prize for Literature. Glenn's real-life daughter, Annie Stark, also stars in this film, and I caught up with the two of them to talk about the intense new movie.
Hello?
Am I speaking to Mr. Gosselman?
I'd like my wife to get on the extension.
Hello, I'm on.
It is my great honor to tell you, Mr. Gosselman, that you have been chosen to receive the Nobel Prize in Literature.
So, Glenn, your character, Joan, has this inner rage, smiling on the outside, but screaming on the inside, and that tension sort of builds through the whole film. Do you have a lived experience or someone in mind when you were playing Joan?
I had a lot of things to draw from, all through my life, actually. Yeah. So it was a very real experience for me. And my mom, in a way, both my parents are gone, but my mom, in a way, that was kind of her life. My dad was a brilliant, brilliant doctor. Tough to live with. My mom fell in love with him and never fell out of love with him. But I do think that she sublimated her gifts in order to be there for my dad. Joe had a very heavy hand as a teacher.
Did he encourage you to keep writing?
A writer writes because he has something personal to say.
Annie, you play Joan when she has this spark, when she's alive, when she's in love. She's got all these gifts and talents that changes a bit for her. She ends up taking this supporting role. How would you describe Joan at that part of her life?
She does have a spark, but she's also, I mean, very much, you know, kind of a victim of the times that she was brought up in. So she has that spark, but she doesn't know that she has this spark. She just knows that she wants to be creative. She knows that she loves to write. I love to write. It's my life.
Don't do it.
When she meets the character played by Elizabeth McGovern, who's her idol, basically, you know, a woman that did do what she, you know, wants to have the courage to do, which is to be a writer in that time, but she says, don't do it. None of your books will be read. So that, you know, coming from somebody who she admires so much, it's truly a stake to the heart, and she basically is told, don't follow your dream. It's not going to happen for you. It's going to wreck you instead. So that, I think, you know, kind of the nail on top of the coffin with how she perceived herself in the world at the time.
My wife doesn't write, thank God. Otherwise, I'd suffer permanent writer's block.
And there's scenes in this movie with Joan and her husband where the tension is so, I mean, it's trite to say, but you really can cut it with a knife. Tell me the dynamic on set where you create that intensity. What happens?
Really putting the time in to understand the character and then to know where she is emotionally at that moment. That took a lot of work. We spent a week around the table in the hotel in Glasgow, you know, to understand exactly what made this woman tick at what time in the script. And that was incredibly helpful to me. And I even had, you know, little things in my script to remind myself.
Now walk away from me, damn it!
I can't do it anymore. I can't take it. I can't take the humiliation.
Glenn, you've played some very fierce, very intense characters, very memorable characters because of that intensity. When you are looking for a role, how do you choose that? How do you know that that's the one?
It's really important to me not to kind of repeat emotional territory, or, you know, if I think something is good on the page, that's the first step. The second step is, you know, what would it mean to keep me interested and challenged as an artist? And third of all is who am I spending my days with? Because that, I could be home, I could be with my family. So who am I going to be working with, creating this collaborative process, which I still find incredibly thrilling.
Tell me about yourself. Do you have an occupation?
I do.
And what is that?
I am a kingmaker.
Her daughter, Annie, told me she almost turned down the role because she wasn't sure she wanted to be compared to her mother. Speaking of Glenn, there's a lot of Oscar buzz about her role in this film. She has been nominated 6 times, but she has yet to win an Academy Award. The Wife is in theaters right now.